Peace and power to the true and living. What's good, family? This is Seaborn Nacirfa-Sun, and I am you. Yo, I'm so excited to be coming back at y'all once again with my friend, with my brethren, Ikome Manono. So this is going to be our third conversation. And you know, we've got such positive responses from the conversation, so we decided to keep it going. And this is going to be a very, very powerful, interesting conversation because today we're going to be talking about false teachings, and we've already talked about a lot of those false teachings. And today we're going to go a little deeper. Let me go once again and introduce y'all to Ikome Manono. Ikome, welcome.
Yes, brethren, another day. So we say we should continue this conversation.
Absolutely.
And this is a very important discussion that we are trying to have to talk about some of the trappings and the pitfalls of the darkness. Because during this spiritual journey, a lot of us we've wandered through many teachings, and before getting this great message, but we came to realize that majority of the teachings out there are trappings of the darkness. Mm-hmm. So we are just trying to bring this to people's awareness, and it's like helping the spiritual journey to have a shortcut into the spiritual journey, because going into these other teachings that are deception only make the journey more tedious, mm-hmm. and more lengthy. But avoiding some of those pitfalls, you can really complete your spiritual journey, or the journey becomes less tasking and less confusing.
Absolutely. You know, so yeah, family. So this is what this video is going to be about, and as I mentioned, it's going to be very informative. We're going to be going deep into a lot of things, and as always, it's only thanks to the Grail message that we are able to do this. You know, as I say all the time, don't take my word for anything. Look into these things for yourself. More importantly, dive into the Grail message and get this for yourself. So as always, we owe all things to the word of the Lord that is given to us through the Grail message, that allows us to do this work and reveal, expose evil, as it says in the Bible, right? So we're going to begin by talking about first false teaching. And this is something that we should have mentioned in the last video, but I just forgot to bring it up, but it was on the agenda. And that is this whole practice and belief of speaking in tongues. Speaking in tongues. And I'm laughing because it's really a ridiculous practice, but there is so much belief and so much fire behind that practice, and people go crazy, for these things. But anyways, I'm gonna let you go ahead and lead that conversation, brethren, and I'll jump in.
Yeah, a lot of people, it becomes remember, the laws in creation, there is no ignorance to the laws. Mm-hmm. The laws are irrevocable, unshakable, Adamantine, and they are from eternity to eternity.
Yeah.
There is no ignorance to the laws. So there are so many things that we human beings, we get ourselves involved with, and we think that we can escape without impunity.
Yeah.
But there's the law of retribution. No matter, we can be careless with these things, but the laws does not care about our carelessness. So there are so many kind of teachings out there, like brethren just mentioned. We start with the first thing about this speaking in tongues. It has become a customary thing in all the churches today. It becomes like a letter of admission into the upper echelons of the churches.
Yeah.
The high priest. So, you have to be able to speak in this, babbling in this language that people probably cannot understand, just to show yourself that, oh, you are some person with high spiritual authority.
Like you have reached some kind of a milestone. And I'm laughing because I remember when I was in the church back in my younger days when I used to bounce around from church to church. I remember this one elder in the church that I really looked up to because he was just so convincing. But then he would tell me that there's no way to get into the kingdom of heaven if you don't speak in tongues. And that used to scare me because I believed it. But I used to say to myself, man, I don't ever see myself doing that, because it just looks so crazy to me. I'm like, I don't think I'll ever be able to catch the Holy Ghost to where I'm just freaking out and bouncing around and babbling gibberish like that. So now that I look back on that experience, it's very funny to me, but a lot of people go through this,
And there's no mysticism. The workings of the Lord are so clear and simple, but the intellect always try to confuse, to add, to make it look, it's so mystery. You have to dabble into so much in order to reach the Creator or to some spiritual height. That's our Father, the Holy One.
Yeah.
We are His children, and He tries to make things as easy for us, like a child learning to walk from ABC.
Absolutely.
But we always go around and try to complicate things. I know the origins of this speaking in tongues, originate back in the Bible, the book of Acts, I think chapter 2 and 1 to 13, if I'm not mistaken. When the disciples were gathered to await for the power of the Holy Spirit to descend on them. And they say after that they started speaking in tongues. But what people didn't realize is majority of those disciples of Christ, they came from different backgrounds. Some of them spoke different languages. So when that power descended on them, they started speaking in their own native tongues. Like in Africa, we have so many dialects, and each and every one started communicating in those dialects, of which they didn't understood each other. And those who were around them started saying that, they are speaking in some kind of holy language. And that's how that babbling thing started. And everybody just started babbling without really trying to understand the sources of all this. Even in the book of Corinthians, when Paul spoke to the Corinth about his speaking in tongues, he was telling them that it's a gift. Yes, a gift. There's only one gift when you speak in tongues, and that's the gift of speaking the truth, the gift of healing through your words.
Exactly.
Those words that bless people, those words of love, kindness. That's the only language that you speak in tongues, and that's a gift which majority of people don't have. To be able to speak with love, care, and kindness to your fellow human being. That's the true speaking in tongues for me that I know.
And the thing about it is also, these days, when you see people engage in this practice of speaking in tongues, it's like they have no idea what they are doing, what kind of energy entities that they're conjuring up with all this babbling. Because the way I look at it is, I think it's a form of possession. I think these people they become possessed, by some demonic entities, because the way when you see people speaking in tongues in the churches, whenever they're having that conventions or, whatever the case is, when you see that happening, it's like, it doesn't reflect anything of the light, because everything with the light is, like you mentioned earlier, there's no mystery to it. Everything happens with calmness and with clarity. Not all this craziness and bouncing around and all that stuff they be doing. It's like they look like they're possessed by demons. And those things that they're saying is, they could be speaking demonic spells and what have you.
And not even realizing the kind of entities that they've awakened with that language. You think about it, brethren. if you walk down the street, sometimes you look at a mad person,
Yeah.
And then that mad person, sometimes they're speaking to themselves or they're saying things that you can't understand.
Yeah.
And then you look at them, how their appearance, they are all shabby looking, they haven't taken a bath, looking all crazy. As a person, just think the kind of entity that has inhabited that individual. That tells you that these entities are really they are terrible kind of entity, because if it was a good entity, that individual will look clean, will look presentable.
Exactly.
So if you see that, you automatically know that something is wrong.
Exactly. Like they say, cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yeah. And then at the same time also, you look into these churches, and then you see what happened through their what they call healing, when people are rolling on the floor, screaming and shouting, and all those things.
Catching the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, you know that something is wrong with that picture.
Yep.
Those people might be truly maybe possessed.
They catching something. It ain't the Holy Ghost.
So we have to be careful. Ignorance. There's no excuse for ignorance. So we have to be really careful when we're speaking in something that we don't understand.
Exactly. And then the thing about it is, when you tell people that this is a condition, you must speak in tongue in order for you to be saved and get into the kingdom of heaven, a lot of people are going to, number one, they're going to open themselves up to that kind of energy, to being possessed by, these demonic energies that's out there. And then they're going to open themselves up, and then they're going to fake it. Either open themselves up, or they're going to try to fake it. And what ends up happening is, now you have their energy focused in something that is not beneficial at all for their spiritual ascension. So now your energy is becoming trapped in this, in this practice that is not helping you at all. But really what it's doing in reality is trapping your soul and preventing you from truly ascending. And ironically, they're telling you that, hey, if you don't do this thing of speaking in tongues or whatever else it is, you don't get into the kingdom of heaven, So, but it's the very opposite. It's like, if you want to get into the kingdom of heaven, you need to stay away from things like that, So.
And it becomes like a drug.
Yeah.
Because the mind, remember, the mind loves habits. When you keep doing those things like that, they become a habit. So it comes to a point where if you pray, you don't use that babbling stuff.
Yeah.
You don't feel fulfilled.
Exactly.
Not realizing that you are actually fulfilling the intellect, the mind, not the spirit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will feel being uplifted, not knowing that that's a trap of the intellect. You have to understand the difference between the mind and the spirit. What the food for the intellect and those for the spirit.
Yeah.
The people don't understand that. That's why people can be on drugs and get high. And they think that high, they look at it like it's a high of the spirit.
Exactly.
But that's just a high of the mind.
Of the mind.
And those are the trappings.
Exactly.
That we have to be very careful of.
And what that reminds me of is this whole psychedelic movement. When psychedelics really became popular, people started doing all these different drugs, LSD and, the ayahuasca and all of that. And the crazy thing about it is, this whole psychedelic movement was, implemented by the CIA. So there's a lot of, Satanism behind that whole thing. And like Brethren said, these people, they take these very powerful psychedelic drugs and they feel like they're spiritually growing and spiritually becoming stronger and connecting with nature and connecting with God and things like that. And what it really is just a really deep psychological high,
Right.
And it is not spiritual growth, and it's not spiritual ascension at all. And speaking in tongues is no different from taking psychedelics. It's the same thing. It just opens you up to a lot of evil things.
I think it should be clear, those that dabble into that, but sometimes it's difficult to tell people to stop doing something until something happens. Absolutely. With that individual. That's when sometimes people realize, oh man, let me let me get away from these things. Just like our spiritual journey, we went through it. Remember, these things that we are saying, we are not just saying it because we've experienced these things ourselves.
Yeah.
That's why we're bringing them forth, that these things are not the right way. They are just traps.
Yeah, beautiful sounding traps, beautiful looking traps, beautiful feeling traps. But at the end of the day, they're just all traps, and it's like a drug effect. But anyway, so we're going to move on to the next thing. Next, false teaching. And this one is really heavy, new age spirituality. And really, we can make a lot of videos talking about this because it just involves so many things. And I've actually made a video about talking about some of these new age spiritual deception. And I'm glad that we're touching upon this subject because, like I said, there's just so many things about it that we can discuss. But new age spirituality is so deceptive. Speaking about things that look and sound and feel good, that is new age spirituality. And millions of people are being misled still by this thing. So let's dive into this. The first part about that I want to talk about is the teachings that they say that you are God. That's one of the foundations of new age spirituality. And I want to start with that because in my opinion, that is probably the biggest crime of new age spirituality, because that directly stands against the first commandment that says, I am the Lord thy God, and you shall have nothing before me. And then you have these people come out and say, you are God, So let's begin with that, brethren.
It's amazing when you look at humanity, what is happening on this planet today, planet Earth. Is there any semblance that you can look at another human being and say they are God? There is nothing. I mean, look at all the wars, you look at all the plagues, you look at all the crimes, the hate, you turn the news, you turn social media, from the movies that we watch, showing movies that were killing one another, and people sit there and watch these things for entertainment, and they get entertained by seeing another fellow human being killed. And then when you look at that, you look at all the confusion when a man doesn't know if they're a woman or a man, all this confusion, and you turn around and say, oh, we are gods. So that really, as you said, goes completely against the commandment that thou shalt not have any other God but me. It's just another deception of the darkness to keep you away from the light or from the Almighty.
Yeah.
To get you entrapped, because the darkness is already disconnected from the light.
Absolutely.
So that the darkness now is looking for more members to fill up its kingdom. Disciples. So the darkness now try to make you feel like, oh, you have the power to do all these things, to accomplish these things.
Yeah.
You don't need the power of the Most High. And even the darkness itself cannot function without that power that stream through creation.
Absolutely.
Nothing can function without that power.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, Lucifer is very aware that there is a creator, there is a Father God. He's very aware of that, but he gives us these kind of teachings, and we take it because it is sold to us in such a nice sounding, nice looking package, so people, they bite it and they accept it wholeheartedly. And one of the reasons why people accept it is because it takes away, it feeds that ego, but then it also takes away from that responsibility, because we are responsible to God. But if I'm walking around here feeling like I'm God, I'm all high and supreme and so forth, that means that I don't have to answer to a God because I am God. So then it creates that blindfold, which leads people more into sins, and then you stray away from your God-given responsibility, because we are responsible to God because we are using the power of God. But as I mentioned before, having that power of God, because it is literally true. Every living thing has within it the power of God, and it is that power that is allowing us to do everything that we do on a daily basis. Every single thing that you do. Think about all your activities, the people you love, and the things you do. Whatever it is. Think about all of that. It is only the power of God that makes all of those things possible.
That's right.
So that doesn't make us God, though. Even though we have that power, it makes us responsible before our Creator, and He holds us accountable. And that's one of the things. That's what the judgment is about. This whole last judgment is about the Creator, coming to us and asking us, "Hey, what have you done with this power that I've given you? How have you used my power in creation? Have you used it to further my work, or have you used it to cripple my work and spread darkness and evil?" That's what this judgment is all about. But people walking around here believing that they are God, you're filled with this false sense of superiority, and then you stray away from your God-given responsibility. And it leads into a whole bunch of crap, because I've never saw anybody who believes that, who's not really arrogant.
That's right.
Who's not misled. So.
And human beings are trying to mimic the Creator, even to create other human beings. Like, we have all these test tube babies that they are trying to create and make by genes, slicing the genes and putting them together. So to the point where, women don't need a man, or men don't need women to make babies. It's the same, that ideology. But they fail to realize that after they've put the physical flesh together, something has to inhabit that flesh to to animate it,
absolutely,
to keep it alive. And there's something...
because life is not just physical.
It's not just physical, but they don't see what is behind this physicality or this flesh. They can't see that. So they manipulate the flesh and all this and put things together. But that flesh, yes, there are entities that will take possession of that flesh. And sometimes some of these entities wreak havoc on this planet.
Yeah.
Some of the most terrible crimes, some of the things that are happening here on planet Earth are as a result of these things.
Yeah.
Some of us human beings, they become hosts to some of these diabolical entities roaming this planet.
Yeah, and what people don't know is that, and this is one of the things I was saying earlier, we thank God so much for the Grail message, because it gives us this knowledge. A lot of things that people don't know is that there are millions of souls in the beyond just waiting for the opportunity to be able to incarnate on this earth. And they're being given those opportunities through these various means that they're doing, as Brethren said, through test tube babies and so forth, and even with artificial intelligence. Those souls are being given a false, incarnation on this earth, because it is not a natural process of how, it doesn't go through the natural channels of being incarnated on this earth. And these are souls whom, if they're given that opportunity, they shouldn't be here. And if they're given that opportunity, as Brethren said, all they're going to do is wreak havoc. That's all they're going to do. So there's a lot of stuff that's involved with that, and we're not even aware of it. But the sad thing about it is, human beings are doing this because of this whole idea that we are God, you are God, so there's no limit to anything that we can, in our power, that we can do, they're going to do it.
So that's how the picture look on planet Earth. And we do things not realizing the consequences, or just we do experiment just for the hell of it. Let's just do it. But you have to think about the pros and the cons to do these things. You don't just do them just for the hell of it. And that's why we have all these things that are happening. That so many things that can be prevented, they are happening. Because it's a good soul, a soul coming from above will not go through that channel of artificial it won't go through that channel. It will go through a channel of a loving mother and a father.
Absolutely.
You know, but anything else just attract things that in reality don't even supposed to be here at all. You know, we are opening other channels from other portals, from different planetary systems that lay lower than even our planet Earth.
Absolutely.
Of which there are so many ignorant creatures,
Yeah.
which are human beings themselves that are falling so deep, have become so ignorant in that ring. And instead of leaving them there to develop in their own way, but we stretch a hand to them and we bring them here on planet Earth.
Yep. Through these various means and practices and beliefs, because we believe that we are God, so we can do anything that we want to do, and that just leads me to the next thing of one of the things that they teach in the New Age spirituality is this whole teaching of manifestation. You know, you have the power to to manifest. You know, you can manifest the kind of life you want, your dream house, your dream car, your beautiful husband or wife and family and all of that. You know, this teaching of manifestation, which is, of course, very deceptive, because I think it's one of those things like, I'm trying to think about the Bible verse. It says men will become lovers of self. That's kind of what that reminds me of, because with teachings like that, you forget about the creator. You know, you forget about God, and you think that you can do everything by yourself on your own, through your own power, through your own strength. You know, that's pretty much what it teaches people. And a lot of it is rooted in greed, you know, and materialism.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, the intellect, the mind, sense a sense of immortality. Sense of mortality. You know, the mind is not something that lasts forever. It's our mind that we use it to acquire as much knowledge and all these things. So the mind knows its time will be up sooner or later. So in that sense, the mind tries to accumulate things as much as quickly as fast as possible and try to find all kind of shortcuts in getting things.
Yeah.
So that's why you see all these teachings, the law of attractions. You can attract things with your mind. You can manifest things, you know. So that's how those teachings come. And yes, the darkness will give you all those things, trust me. But those things come with a price.
Yeah.
You know, there's a price to pay after you are able to acquire these things through other means of with your mind. But things which will allow things to develop and to naturally.
Yeah.
You know, you can't use other spiritual or means to acquire these things. Those things, you should acquire them naturally. Even knowledge, wisdom, you should acquire those things naturally and develop yourself naturally. There's no shortcut into these things. It's just a gradual process.
Absolutely.
You know, seek ye the kingdom of God first.
Yeah.
When you do that, you automatically, you are giving things automatically, not what you want, but things will be given to you that you need for your development and maturity.
Absolutely.
You know, things will not just be given to you randomly. Oh, whatever you want, you get it. Only what will benefit you that will come your way.
Absolutely. And the beauty of that is that the Creator knows us better than we know ourselves.
That's right.
You know, and I had mentioned in one of my videos that, you know, they teach that if you find yourself, then you'll find God. But that's wrong. That's the other way around. If you find God, then you'll find yourself, because life starts with God.
That's
you
right.
know. So if you do that, if you draw nearer to your Creator, then everything that you need you will receive, because as I mentioned, the Creator knows us better than we know ourselves, and because we don't know ourselves as we should, in a lot of us, I mean most of us, our identity is not rooted within our Creator. So what ends up happening is we end up wanting all these different things, that we think we need, but we don't really need, and we only think we want it because we don't truly know ourselves and what our real purpose is. And once we know that, then all those desires change, and the light knows what our purpose is, and the light knows what we need. So
That's right.
as you said, when we're doing these things through natural means, then the light will give us not necessarily what you want, but absolutely what you need for your spiritual growth and ascension. And then later on, when we finally reach that destination, we'll be able to look back. And I mean, I've experienced this in life before, and I'm pretty sure you may have experienced it in life, where there was a time where you prayed for something and you wanted it so bad, and thank God that the Lord didn't let you get it.
Yeah.
And then years later, you were so happy and grateful that the Lord didn't let you get that thing that you thought you needed so bad, right? That's what it says. We have to trust the Word of God.
Or trust the process.
Absolutely.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, when I look back at my growth, in Africa, when I was a young man,
Yeah.
when I look at all the challenges that I encountered, but now when I look back then I was trying to get myself out of the situation.
Yeah.
How I can put myself into other things, how I can make some money and do all these things.
Yeah.
And now when I look back, I'm grateful that I had to go through that, because through that was the best experience of my spiritual growth.
Absolutely.
So we just have to
trust the process. Which is just another way of saying trust God, trust the word of the Lord, be faithful to the Lord, because as it says, the Lord is faithful because his word never changes. His word is perfect. And if we are faithful to the word, then we will get the promises of the word. That's part of the law.
And people they lose when they want something. They lose if they don't get it. They lose hope, or sometimes they give up on the Creator and they get angry with Him.
Yeah.
Why no? I've been looking for a husband or a wife. I can't find one, and I've been praying and praying.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. And so some of those experiences is also a lesson. Because you can look at most of, like, I can say a young lady, when they are young, they have a lot of suitors that will come their way, probably try to get married to them, and they refuse.
Yep. So and some very good tutors.
Very good suitors, and they will refuse to get married because they think that, hey, there's still something better out there. Yeah. Then they get older, now they can't find a husband, and then they start praying and crying that, things didn't work, and they get angry with the Lord and all this thing. But remember, He provided you with these things at the time that you refuse them.
Exactly.
It's like even some people who are looking for work. And I know a couple of people who are jobless. Yeah. But there was a time, if they look at their life, they had the opportunity of a lot of jobs, but they refused them. So now they've come in a place now that they are unemployed. Through that process, you have to learn now why you squander the opportunities and the blessings that were given to you.
Yeah.
But you have to go there to understand that process. So that's how life works. Life, those blessings or things will be given to you, but it's how you receive them. Yeah. Some people, they say, no, they don't want them. No. After a while, those things will stop coming your way because you refuse them.
Absolutely. And then people, you want to take shortcut and start listening to all these so-called gurus and spiritual teachers, because they have a lot of schools now or teachers now that are teaching people this whole art of manifestation, and that's how I look at it. You're just taking shortcuts. You want to bypass God, and it's like going behind his back and using his power, to do what you want to do, as opposed to being obedient and trusting the Lord and using, the power for what he gave it to you to use it for, So it's like I said, Bridget, it's a major deception, and people fall for it because we become desperate. You know, we have all these false desires, these desires that are rooted in a false sense of identity and you know what have you. So yeah, man. I mean, so much I can say about that. You know, so much I can say about it. But yeah, that's one of the things about New Age spirituality, teaching manifestation, teaching spirituality without God. And when we get to a place where we realize that really that God is the foundation for everything, for life, you know, and that's why it says we should have nothing before God. You know, and I don't think we've really gotten to a place where we understand that, because when we truly understand that, that's liberation. You know, that's true connection to God. When we really understand, you know, why we should put nothing before God. When we truly understand that is liberation. You know, but excuse me. Let's move on to the next thing. So a lot of things that is taught in New Age spirituality, for example, the law of attraction, we didn't even really talk about that one, which a lot of it is only materially focused. You know, it's only about how to live, you know, a good and successful life here on earth. It's none about, you know, getting rid of your sins, getting rid of the negative threads of faith that is attached to you and drawing closer to your creator. It's never about that. It's always about building your own kingdom and just becoming massively rich and successful and you know, accumulating more
things.
Exactly.
More baggage. You know, accumulating all those things, and then you accumulate them at your own. You spend so much time on material wealth, and you fail to focus on yourself, to develop yourself spiritually as a person, and you are chasing all these earthly things, not knowing that these things they are temporary. They are all temporary fix.
Absolutely.
That you have to be centered within. That is what you carry with you. In the journey while you are here on earth, even in the beyond, you carry that consciousness. It's always with you. It doesn't matter which dimension you find yourself in, that consciousness live. And that's why we are here, to awaken that and to come to that realization that you are a conscious being. You know, you are not just flesh and bone. So that's what happened. People think they are just flesh and bone, and they do everything to satisfy this flesh and bone. But the flesh is the effect. The cause is the spirit. So when you focus more in the spirit, those spiritual things will take the physical manifestation. Like you see most of these women, what do? They do all the plastic surgeries. They try to control, change everything physical. But they don't know that the true beauty lies within the spirit. You know, when you embrace beauty with the spirit, it takes up the outer form. And if the spirit will fix all the contortion, you know, if it purify the most ugly, it straighten the crooked.
Absolutely.
So you have to start from the cause, not try to fix the effect.
Exactly. And that's perfect way to put it, Bridget, because what that's reminding me of is the analogy of how you're looking in a mirror and you're trying to change the reflection in the mirror, not realizing that by changing you, that's what changes the reflection in the mirror. You know, and that's what human beings we're stuck trying to do. We keep trying to change the reflection in the mirror, rather than realizing that what we need to change is something deep within us. It is our core, you know. And this New Age spiritual teaching of, you know, all these New Age spiritual teachings that get you so materially focused, a lot of people don't realize that it is a trap, you know, because when we when this physical fleshly body dies, right? You want your ethereal body, your soul, you want your soul to be able to ascend into the next, into the next stage of this spiritual journey. You don't want to be held back here. But then when we focus so much on these material things, that's exactly what it does. It traps the soul here. So now you become what the Grail message called earthbound. Heavy. And you cannot spiritually ascend because you're so focused on manifesting. And now you have all these material things that you're super attached to. You can't let go, and you're stuck down here.
And the funny thing about this is people spend so much time acquiring these material things, building houses and whatever.
Yeah.
And then they pass on. They still have a connection to these things, because those things become your idol.
Exactly.
You start idolizing these things.
Very strong connection.
Because you pursue them so much, and when you pass on, you get entrapped, and you see yourself.
Yeah.
Those things that you work for, the people that you leave those things behind, they squander all those things, and that's your punishment, because you're bound, and you'll be able to witness how those things are being squandered. And you become entrapped for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You'll be entrapped until help might come if you're lucky.
If you're finally open up to the help coming and finally open up to letting go of all this nonsense.
Help might come to you in the beyond.
Absolutely.
Like that. So we have to be very, very careful. Materialism. Material things are good. And don't make them your idol. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with having all the wealth and riches in the world. Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But if you can afford them, but that should not be your primary aim.
Exactly.
Of existence.
Should not be your idol at all, because you can't take these things nowhere with you, and they get in the way of your spiritual growth and development. What did Jesus say to the rich man? It's harder for, what did the Bible say, for a rich man to make it to heaven than it is for a camel to fit through an eye of a needle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what these things do to you. They trap you here in the material world. And that reminds me, brethren, I think we was having a conversation before where we were just kind of just laughing at human beings, because when we look at this world, look at all the things we have built, these great structures and monuments and the bridges and buildings and, all these things that we marvel at, But the funny thing is, they all come crashing down within a few seconds with a hurricane or tornado or flood or whatever have you. They're no match for creation.
That's right.
No match at all for creation, But that's what these people will have you wanting to do, is putting all your eggs into this material life and forgetting about your spiritual life, because you are God. You have the power to manifest. What's the other one? The law of attraction. You can attract all these things to yourself. So you got it.
Or you can heal yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another one, healing. Yeah. Like the power resides with us. There's only one power that heals you. That's the power of the Almighty.
Absolutely.
If you sincerely ask for it and you pray for it, you'll be healed. But it's not through your own effort.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they get healed, they give themselves credit, not knowing that through that prayer you've opened yourself for the healing to flow.
Yeah, and the deceptive nature of it is that these people from New Age spirituality, and one thing y'all need to understand is this whole New Age spiritual movement was started by people who are Satanists. This New Age spiritual movement was started by people who are Satanists. Okay, it was a deception from day one. These are Lucifer worshiping Satanists from day one. So make no mistakes about it. That's who they are, and they bring these teachings to us. These deceptive teachings to us. They sell it to us and having us thinking that it'll make us better, it'll make us powerful, and things like that. And that's not the case, family. It's a deception from day one. It was brought brought to us by people who worship Lucifer literally, and is being given to us as a way of disconnecting us from our Creator.
Yeah.
And driving us into the arms of darkness and damnation. That's literally what it is. So as we say always, family, that deception runs deep.
Yeah.
And we need to wake up and realize those things and stop falling for it. Stop listening to these people trying to sell you spirituality without God, trying to tell you that, because it's all the power of God, and they're not even wrong. What they have done is they realize the power of God in creation. They recognize that power, and they recognize how to tap into it and use it. But the thing is, they want to do it without acknowledging and giving credit to the source. And that's the crime, right? It's like you want to steal from God and not give him credit for his work, his creation, his power. And that's a crime. That's not right. These people need to be teaching you that, yeah, of course, we do have the power to manifest things in our lives, but we were able to do that with the power of God. We're not doing that on our own strength, on our own power, because we don't have any power by ourselves, within ourselves. It's all the power of God.
I'm glad you brought that. It's the same thing that even we have. I've come across some videos or some enlightened individual spilling some real wisdom, but they've never acknowledged. I can tell if somebody have read the Grail message, the way they speak, the way they comment, but they never acknowledge that this information they are giving to humanity comes from the Grail message, and they don't want to give credit. There are so many out there, and some I know them personally, but most of the knowledge that we have came from the Grail message. This knowledge.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's why I said in the beginning, we give credit where credit is due. We're out here trying to help our fellow brothers and sisters. We're not out here trying to toot our own horns and make ourselves sound like we're so smart and so important.
Yeah, I remember somebody say, we are trying to teach the message. So what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
If the opportunity presents themselves, if you can teach.
Yeah. That's what we're supposed to do, and that's what we are called to do as the bearers of this message, is to teach the message and bring more people over to the Word of God. So there's nothing wrong with that, But anyways, man, it's very interesting conversation, brethren. So now we can move into some of these practices of New Age spirituality, such as yoga, Reiki, hypnosis, spirit channeling, and all those things, and just
the one that I wanted, Reiki.
Yeah.
I was going to have a conversation with you on that. Reiki is also a form of magnetic healing. It should be a good practice, but the thing with these things is you don't know who is practicing. Who is this individual? Who they are?
Yeah.
Just like massage therapy. A lot of people think, I'm going to get a massage, and you are going to allow somebody to lay their hands on you. You don't know the kind of energy that individual is transmitting to your body.
Yeah.
You don't know their mental state. You don't know their spiritual consciousness.
Exactly.
You don't know if before they left the house they had a fight with their spouse.
Yeah.
You don't know if this individual is a thief. You don't know if it's you don't understand this.
And you don't know the kind of entities that they're attached to.
And then you go and lay down and you allow this individual to lay their hands on you. And then later on in life, we come up with all kind of issues and problems.
Yeah.
And we don't know where these things come from. Remember, even our physical body is sacred and holy, that we should not defile it or allow it to be defiled by anything, or even somebody just laying their hands on your body.
Yeah.
We have to be very cognizant of that. So when somebody is practicing Reiki, which is a form of magnetic healing, those are gifts, but you have to know if that individual is really gifted to to do healing through magnetism or the form of Reiki, where they move their hands on your body.
Yeah.
They might be transmitting an energy that you don't know in you. So those are things that one has to be extremely careful with those things.
And the thing about it is, these people, like you said, there is Reiki, there's power in it. But the thing about it is, when you look into these things, most of the people who practice these things, they're people who either reject God or reject Jesus, who are, off into some other things that may not be spiritually healthy, So it's like, that's a very intimate and powerful thing to undertake. So you want to make sure that whoever you're dealing with, is spiritually pure and spiritually clean, and that they are working, in the light. You cannot be getting involved in these things with people who deny and reject Jesus, because then what source are they pulling from?
Right.
And one of the things that people need to realize is that because this material world has been conquered by Lucifer, there are millions and millions of his angels all over this material world, in the non-physical part of the material world, who are, sending these messages out, getting in touch. For example, these spirit channelers, like the Abraham Hicks and the Bashars and the Jane Roberts and all these people who became very rich.
Set material.
Yeah, the set material, who became very rich from doing these things. Who are these people and these entities that they're channeling? Who are these entities?
I remember, set materials. You remember we double into it real deep.
Yeah.
With the set speaks. But one time, I saw a video of Jane Roberts smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, she was a heavy smoker.
She was a heavy smoker. That's what struck me. I said, what entity will inhabit, she's channeling, that will inhabit
such a dirty channel.
So it's smoking. That's when I knew that it wasn't coming from the right place.
Not coming from the light.
The right place. And I just stopped listening to them right away. So, but it's through the knowledge that we have that we're able to use that to discern the knowledge of the Grail message.
Yeah.
You're able to see the trick of the enemy, and you're able to see those things and avoid them.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, family, it's just a real blessing to have come across the Grail message and, and to be able to spiritually absorb this message and learn the things that we have been blessed to learn. And I've said so many times, this message really makes you knowing. It really opens your eye. It really makes you knowing. And a lot of these people that are on the world stage who are teaching people, if you have the Grail message, you know more than these people do. And that's not to be arrogant or funny. It's just a matter of fact, and that's just literally true. And that's not something surprising if you understand what the Grail message is. And the source of the Grail message. There's not enough words we can say about the message, family. And that's why we do these videos. Did you want to say anything else about any other of these practices, like yoga and channeling and hypnosis?
Yoga. Yoga is another practice that there's a lot of different forms of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga also is a practice that makes you feel like the power comes from you. And then it makes you, I think yoga tries to make you, how do you say, I just forgot about this term, where you forget about all the suffering of the world. And I think the Buddhists also...
Like nirvana or something like that?
Yeah, kind of that. You get into a state of nirvana, where the Buddhists also function in that a state where there is no desire, there's nothing, just be.
Yeah.
But those things are given to us for a reason. You have to desire.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have, those are the things that drives us to be able to accomplish things.
Yeah.
You have to have the desire to go to work.
Absolutely.
You have to have the desire to do this work that we are doing.
The desire to serve the Lord.
The desire to serve the Lord. So you cannot just say, I'm not going to use that gift or even sexuality. I'm going to be
celibate for the rest of my life.
Celibate. It's something that was given to this body, and the body needs that to sustain itself.
Yeah.
If you don't use those gifts aright, now those gifts will channel themselves in the wrong direction.
Exactly, bring about destruction.
A lot of destruction. You see all the things that are happening with some of those people that become celibate, some of those priests, they turn around and start doing other
just evil things.
Or they become mischievous, involving themselves with little kids and the like. So that's what happens. You have to be able to allow these natural desires to flow and to use them. Remember, you use them with balance, equilibrium, and not to abuse those gifts. You have to use them appropriately.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Redden. Go ahead.
So, and then talking of hypnosis, I think that's a very good topic to talk about hypnotism, because I remember before I got the Grail message, I was almost getting into hypnotherapy. I was even to the point of started practicing it until I came across the Grail message, and I read about the dangers in this practice.
Yeah.
Hypnotism is a very, very dangerous practice.
The Grail message calls it a crime. It says a crime of hypnotism.
Yeah, and nobody should allow he or herself to be hypnotized by anybody. And there are a lot of people who put themselves under this spell unknowingly without realizing it.
Yeah.
Because when you look at some of the preachers, they use that power. They hypnotize their audience, and most of this audience, they do things unknowingly, giving them money without them realizing it. They put them to sleep. It's a spell bound, and some of these church members do crazy things.
Yeah.
You will see somebody who will take all their savings or all their material accomplishment and give it to the church.
Yeah. Why do you think poor people will go take all their money and go give it to the damn church?
Yeah. Or I've seen a case where this guy who was overseas sent money to his wife to buy a vehicle, and the vehicle, the wife went and gave it to the pastor, and he says, the pastor needs it, and she was working, she didn't have a vehicle.
And she's suffering.
So you realize that those are spells that some of these pastors they cast, and they do it on their audience, even to some of their mostly women fall victims to these things. Yeah,
because the feminine is more open to that.
So we have to be very, very careful. While we are here on earth, our spirituality, what we call, is shielded.
Yeah.
No human being supposed to know your past life, or supposed to know deep within your psyche what is happening within you.
Yeah,
that should not be open to no one.
Yeah.
It's like while we are here wondering, some of us have. No, we are not perfect. So we have our evil tendencies. We commit one crime here and there. That some of those things are personal within us until the Lord allow us to mature to a point where you look back and realize that, what I did was wrong.
Yeah.
So now I can correct it. So we are human beings. We are not an open book. But what hypnosis does is open you up. To those things, and when you are open, you other currents and other channels now can flow into you. into you, not without the person hypnotizing you not knowing what is happening,
and not having the power to stop it.
Not have you sometimes you get attacked psychically while you become you are in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
Because you has opened you up. Our physical body is also a protection.
Yeah.
Like in the last video I mentioned that when you go to a place like Alaska, you need a different kind of clothing to protect your physical body.
Yeah.
So while we are here on Earth, also the physical body is also another protection.
Yeah.
So majority of human beings tear that protection open through meditation, through hypnotism. They open themselves up, and then they get
even through Reiki.
And then that's when sometimes they get attacked by entities. And after hypnotism, sometimes these people fall sick. Yeah. And another crime of hypnotism is you spiritually bind yourself with that individual that is hypnotizing you. You know, you bind yourself with that individual. So this person practicing hypnosis has bind themselves with all their clients or all the ones that are being hypnotized. So when you passed on, or when the person who hypnotized you passed on, they are connected with you.
Exactly.
So if they are falling into deeper depth, while you are striving upward, you have to fall into those depths with that individual.
They're dragging you down.
They drag you down with them until that individual in the beyond, they have to be able to rescue each and every individual until they can be set free. But through their practices, they've bind thousands of souls, thousands of human beings. So in actuality, they are working for the darkness. Yeah. You know, to trap souls, lighter souls into the darkness. So those practices, we have to be very, very careful. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm practicing hypnosis for healing, to heal myself, or to go to, they call it regression therapy, or to find out about my past life, who I was, what happened to me in my previous incarnation, and so on and so forth." But that it is a very big, greater danger in getting involved in that.
Oh my God. Brethren, you know, that leads me into the next thing. What people say when you bring all these practices and you tell them that yoga is bad, meditation, hypnosis, Reiki, when you tell them that all these things, there's dangers within all these things, what they say is, but these things help me. It has saved my life. It makes me feel better. You know, I wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for these things, you know? So, and I get it, because there's a lot of people out there who are suffering, you know, but instead of getting the one thing that they really need, that can really help them, that can really pull them out of their chaos, which is the word of God, they get these things that it gets substituted for these things such as hypnosis and yoga and things like that. And then they end up becoming spiritually entrapped. Yeah. And the sad thing about becoming spiritually entrapped is you may not feel it while you're still alive in your physical fleshly body. Like you can feel really euphoric and feel really great physically, but then spiritually be entrapped. Yeah. And then you die, the physical body falls away, and then you like wake up and like, you know, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. You know? So the deception is so deep, Brethren, but that's the next thing I wanted to bring up.
And the thing is, I remember back in the early 20s or even the late 90s, there were so many hypnotherapies. Oh, it was like the main thing.
It was popular.
But guess what happened to those hypnotherapies? We don't know what happened to them. We don't see them anymore, because most of those people practice those things. For some reason, they just fall off. I don't know if they died early or what happened to them. And even people who have been hypnotized, there's no record that is showing what really happened to these people after all these practices. Yeah. Because there's a bigger danger into those things.
I mean, you're talking about being earthbound and trapping your soul for potentially hundreds or thousands of years. Yeah. That's one of the surest ways to do it. So we just have to be very careful with these spiritual practices, because the thing about it is, like, as it mentions in the Grail message, a murderer can find redemption much sooner, much quicker than someone who's spiritually entrapped through, one of these things that we just mentioned. So we have no idea what we're doing, and we have to be extremely careful. And again, this is why the Grail message is so important, because these are the kind of things that we need to learn about life and creation, so that we can really be spiritually free. And if we don't know these things, that comes with a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
We fall into trap after trap after trap that leaves us stuck on this material plane for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, if we cannot free ourselves in time. And then we have to go through spiritual disintegration, spiritual damnation.
And the sad part, I just want to add a little bit on this hypnosis. A lot of people practice, a lot of preachers, they practice it. I mean, you just watch them, pay attention. From them waving their hands, and people falling down or using those are forms of hypnotism. Some of them
voice.
Is not real.
Yeah.
They lie, but some of it you could tell that they put these people in spellbound, and they knock them off, and people say, oh, they are using the power of the Almighty.
Yeah, of the Holy Spirit. No,
that's the power of the darkness.
Yeah.
And they will pay a heavy price for it. They are going to pay. There's a heavy judgment for it, because the ignorance is not an excuse.
No, it's not. And
ignorance, they've sinned gravely.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, some of these pastors, they themselves may not be even able to articulate these things like we're articulating it, but within their conscience, they know exactly what they're doing. They know that they're having some kind of an effect on their audience when they do and say things in a certain way. They may not label it hypnotism, but that's exactly what they're doing, and they're very aware and very skilled at doing it. I mean, that's why these dudes become massively rich and famous.
Yeah,
you look at the Creflo Dollars and all these other mega people, and I mean, the truth is coming to the light, and we're seeing more and more of the corruption coming out.
We haven't seen enough. We are going to see more of this. We should just pay attention.
Way more.
Yeah,
it's coming. But anyways, brethren, so that brings us to our last topic, which is. And I think that is the best topic, which is feminism, satanic feminism, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't really think and it's not a difference between the two. You have to understand that the feminist movement is a satanic movement, So this is something that has gotten more and more people are coming out now and exposing feminism for what it really is. And when I say feminism, I'm talking about this whole idea that, what they try to sell it to people before as women have always been so oppressed by men, and women needed to be liberated and, be empowered and so forth, that women and men are the same, that women, whatever men can do, women can do, and so forth. So all this movement that birthed those ideas that took women out of the home and threw them into the workplace and made them competition for their husbands and brothers and so forth. This is what I mean when I say feminism. It is such a deep and strong movement, but as I mentioned, it is being exposed more and more, and there are more and more scholars coming out now and saying, hey man, did y'all know that this whole feminist movement was started by Satanists, people who worship Lucifer, and it was all based on lies, because women were not oppressed, women were actually way happier back then than they are today under feminist, all this so-called liberation that feminism have given them and so forth, So,
and it was founded under the guise that women can be men. It was founded under the guise that, women who don't have to get married. Women can do whatever they want to do with their bodies.
Exactly.
Women can get pregnant, kill babies. Women can have unprotected sex if they want. Women can be unfaithful if they want. And those were the fundamentals of that organization. And he has the seed has sprouted and it has grown, and it is bearing fruit. If you look around, you see that everywhere, and there's so much confusion to the point where women want to be men. And to the point where even some men want to be women and join the bandwagon and pollute the entire feminism. Our kids are being raised by strangers. Yeah. So now there's no longer the woman is no longer. There's nothing wrong with a woman accomplishing whatever they want to accomplish, or things like education and so on. We are not saying that women should not do those things.
No, absolutely not. There's nothing wrong with those things.
A woman should know their primary goal. A man and a woman, we are here, we are equal, but the functions are different. Yeah. We men, our functions are more of a coarse nature, exactly. Of earthly type, down to earth, walking with the ground and so on. And the woman's nature is more finer, more of that spiritual nature to remind us of that spirituality. So we men, we don't come here on earth and get lost. Yeah. A friend of mine gave me a very good example. He said, if you look at a light bulb and the filament that give light into the bulb, that's the relationship between the man and the woman. The filament that you see inside the light bulb is the woman. And then the outer covering of the light bulb is the man. Covering. That's our nature, to protect that fineness, that godliness, that light, that women supposed to bring here on earth. Yeah. But guess what? If a woman, you don't stand aright, you break the protective covering and you expose yourself. So, and in that explosion, that's where the weakness, you are no longer, you standing in a place of strength and power as a woman, and also a man also will fall short because they are not pulling that light from the woman. Exactly. So when you look at the whole situation, everything just become messed up, jacked up, When the woman is not standing right, it affects everything. It affects the man, it affects everything, society. So that's what this organization has done to our women.
That's such a beautiful metaphor that you just gave there, brethren. And that's what it really is. And that's what it's so crazy because now we can see it. Before we couldn't see it, but it has always been about destroying God's natural order. Like you just mentioned with that beautiful metaphor of the filament and the light, right? That's God's natural order right there with the feminine and the masculine. And it's not just with human beings. We see it all throughout creation. Creation is really the harmonious cooperation of feminine and masculine energies all throughout. So it's not just with human beings, and we see this everywhere. But for some reason, with human beings, we want to take that and throw it out of order and think that for some reason it's going to work better for us. Where we see in nature, where nature follows its natural order and everything works very perfectly in nature. But we're thinking that we can disrupt that natural order and have things work perfectly for us, and it just doesn't make sense, and it's not working. And as I mentioned earlier, women are way less happier today with all this so-called freedom and liberation that they have gotten. They're way less happier today than they were before all this feminist garbage came into play.
A woman is stronger in her nature. As a woman. Exactly. That's where she generates, she gets the most strength and a man also is stronger as a man when he stands in his position as a man.
Absolutely.
As that protector of that godliness, that is in a woman. And a true man, a genuine man, will always protect a woman that carries that light within them.
Absolutely.
But you see what happened today when that light becomes soil. When it becomes soil, the protection is automatically not there, because it becomes a genuine man becomes repulsed by that which is not fine, and something is very repulsive about it.
Absolutely. And going back to God's natural order, feminism is so unnatural to not just men but to women, that they really had to it was like a strategic political campaign in order to make people accept these feminist ideas. And you'll be surprised, brethren, the people who fought against feminism the most were women. Women fought against these ideas the most. And I forgot the lady's name that I want to refer y'all to. It's two ladies whose work that I came across. And I've been really diving deep into their works. One of them name is Rachel Wilson. I encourage y'all to look into Rachel Wilson. But she was breaking down how this feminism stuff is so unnatural that they had to strategically lie to people in order to make women accept it, because initially women were the ones who were really rebelling against feminism and didn't want it. Even when women got the right to vote, it's like 80% of women were not voting. Did not want that right to vote. So they had to come out with further strategies and campaigns and lies in order to make women take this bait. And some of the things that they would say by these satanic women who were trying to promote Satanism, they would say things like, women are not smart enough to know that they want feminism. So we have to trick them into accepting it, and then once they see what it is, then they'll be happy and they'll take it, they'll accept it, and that's pretty much what happened. So
and the nature has been a man always coming to protect that fineness. It doesn't mean that women are weak. It doesn't mean that, but we see something special in a woman, and that special thing that you see, you don't want it to be soiled by anything else. So the nature of a man is to try to preserve and protect that. That's the nature. But society today don't allow us to do that. Don't because the women can do the things that men can do. I remember one time I was at work, and this lady, she was pregnant, and she was pulling this heavy stuff at work.
Dang.
And my supervisor was sitting there, and I went, tried to help instinctively, tried to help her. And my supervisor was so pissed off with me, called me in the office and reprimanded me.
Wow.
And I was like, why? I said, what? Wow. He said, they want to be like us. Let her do the work. And I felt so sad about the whole situation.
Wow.
But that's how it has become. You don't supposed to be like that.
No, it's not.
There's supposed to be that equal harmony, balance between feminine. There are a lot of feminine activities that will complement the masculine activity.
Yeah, absolutely.
We complement each other.
Yeah. But this reminds me of what I said earlier, brethren, that God knows us better than we know ourselves. And because we're falling so far away from God, we don't know who we are anymore. We have lost our true identity. So now we're trying to substitute that identity for something with a false identity, with something that doesn't fit. So that's why now we're over here wanting all these things that we don't need. And then not only that we don't need these things, but they bring us harm. You know, so when you look into this whole thing with feminism, you know, they got women wanting all these things, wanting to be like men, wanting to hold positions of power, wanting to be, you know, CEOs and stuff like that. They got women wanting all these things when women don't even need these things. And if a woman truly knew who she was, if her identity was rooted in her creator, she would know who she was and she would not want these things, you know? And then she would be happy with what her creator gave her, you know, and she would flourish and be successful in that, you know? But we have lost our identity. And now we have taken on this false identity, you know? And another thing is also the Grail message says that a man can only truly be a man looking up to womanly dignity, you know? And
That's deep.
that's deep and it strikes home. So
That's deep.
think about that, family. And that should let you know just how powerful and necessary the feminine is. That a man cannot be a man if a woman is not who she should be, because it is that womanly dignity that makes men what we're supposed to be. You know, just like you were saying earlier, we see something, we recognize something precious and delicate within the feminine, and instinctively we want to protect that, you know? And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that instinctively, you know, we know that precious thing that we recognize in that feminine, we recognize that we need that is what makes us who we are. So of course we want to preserve that, you know, so that we can continue to be who we are.
Yeah. Look at the analogy I gave you about the light bulb. And
Yeah.
the filament. Look how delicate the filament is.
Yeah,
Inside the light bulb, and it gives light.
absolutely.
Illuminate. As delicate as it is, so as powerful as it is.
Exactly.
And without the outer covering of the light bulb, the filament cannot function.
Yeah, and the light is not as powerful. It doesn't go as far.
It doesn't go. So the covering of the light bulb is that protection to protect. And sometimes some women might, when men try to come into protection, and women also majority have abused that. They take that for granted. Like, I'm so attractive. That's why all these men are coming to me. No, we shouldn't look at it that way. We should look at that dignity that you talked about, that we are trying to protect, and that in protecting that also uplift us as men.
Exactly.
And we find our position where we're supposed to be men, that responsibility, that protection, that taking care of that which is feminine.
Absolutely.
You know, that's our responsibility as a man. And you realize that women don't have to do all this hard labor that they are doing.
Exactly.
Because the nature automatically, the women will provide that protection.
Absolutely.
So everything has been distorted, brethren. We are living in a world where it's just amazing how distorted things have become.
Absolutely.
To the point where sometimes you ask yourself that, is there any hope?
Right.
Is there any hope? But there is hope, you know.
There is hope.
There is hope. That's why we are making these videos, you know.
It's so backwards. Like we were saying earlier, how because of this whole feminist ideology, you have a lot of women who will literally waste all their young and most productive years, you know, sleeping around, chasing this and that kind of lifestyle and stuff like that. And then when they finally reach the age of 60, 50, you know, then now they want to settle down and be married and stuff like that. But it's like, you wasted the time when you should really have been working on those things to now when you're not even useful anymore. Not to be mean, but I mean, if you live that kind of lifestyle and you're in your 50s and 60s, you're single, no married, no children, I'm sorry, but you're not that useful anymore as far as family building goes. So it's like, and when men want to settle down, they want to settle down and build families. You know?
And we are not saying that a woman without children is not useful.
No, not at all.
Even a woman doesn't have children. Being in her womanliness and
exactly.
And a woman, you don't always have to be with a man also, but who knows herself as a woman can also help a lot creation. You know, like the message speaks that as long as a woman stands
in her womanliness,
in her womanliness, you know, she helps to uplift.
Whether she's married, whether she has children or not,
she helps to uplift.
Exactly.
Creation.
You know. But it's just a backwards mentality of, you know, so many women these days, how they want to wait and finally want to get married when you're 60 years old and settle down and be serious. It doesn't make sense, you know. That's just a backwards thing. And one of the ill things about feminism, this feminist ideology, is that they have men and women fighting against each other. And we were not made to fight against each other. Men and women are, you know, the harmonious cooperation of the feminine and masculine energy. That's creation. Yeah. So we were made to be working along with each other, not fighting against each other. And it doesn't make sense because nowadays there's so many platforms, YouTube channels, and just narratives, you know, battle of the sexes narrative where you got one side saying women are better, men ain't nothing, and then the other side saying men are better, women ain't nothing, stuff like that. And it's a waste of energy, a waste of time, because that's not the direction we should be going. It's a foolish argument to sit here and say which one is better, men or women. No, it's we need each other.
We need each other. Work together.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
But anyways, Brendan, that's my spiel on it. Do you have anything else to add on to it? I think it's about time to bring it to a close.
There was one thing I wanted to talk about. It just came in my mind. I wanted to talk about this thing of religious people, because it's something I used to do myself. I remember where they cross themselves with the sign of the cross.
Yeah,
I think that's a very important thing to talk about. Because the sign of the cross is the sign of truth.
Yeah.
You know, there's only one.
Yeah.
And we know who that is, the Lord Almighty, our Heavenly Father.
Absolutely.
And He's the only one who that homage of the sign of the cross is due.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see people, mostly the Catholic, they cross themselves.
Yeah.
They do that. So when you do that, it means you are telling creation or our Lord Almighty that you are equal to Him.
Yeah.
Because you cross the self and you are professing that you are the truth.
Yeah.
We know we human beings are not. And when you do that, it's like you're a Pharisee. And that is as I mentioned, there's no ignorance to the law. So when you do those things, you are actually also binding yourself. As simple and innocent as that is, and you see that practice, it's the majority of the people do it.
Very prevalent.
Do it is in not only in the Roman Catholic Church, even regular people do it.
I see regular Christians
you
do
see
it.
Even athletes, the sign of the cross. They do it, but it's not a good practice.
Wow!
Because you are bringing yourself equal to the Most High, and you are telling that you are the truth.
Yeah,
you know.
And that was one of the reasons why I'm glad that we did this video when we were having our conversation throughout the week. And that was one of the things that we realized is that these false teachings and practices, the thing that makes them so dangerous, it wouldn't be a problem if there was just some innocent stuff that didn't have any consequences. But the stuff that makes it so dangerous is the fact that they do have these spiritual consequences, and they are binding the souls of people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not something that you could just say, so what? If this is wrong, I'm doing it. So what? It's not one of those things, because it has spiritual consequences. You're entrapping your soul.
There are many of them that we could mention.
Yeah.
I think they will just make the video too lengthy. Even remember, we're going to talk about the cult of Mary and all these things.
The worship of Mary.
Of Mary, Madonna, and the worship of saints.
Yeah.
You know, we already know the Ten Commandments say, "Thou shalt not have any other gods."
Exactly.
But Him alone.
Yeah.
So worshiping Mary or saints, you are breaking that law.
Yeah,
the Ten
you're breaking
Commandments.
the very first commandment.
And there are consequences in that. You know, you bind your soul into this, and you tie yourself to this human being, Mary. And there was so much suffering to that woman, because her mission was to give birth to Christ.
Absolutely.
And Jesus Christ never mentioned that the mother should be worshipped.
Exactly.
But you see,
but now
the darkness there are so many tricks of the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, we just have to be awake and alert.
We do.
So many things that look so innocent and so simple.
Yeah.
But these are trappings of the darkness. It's like a ship sailing in an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you sail in this ocean, you find yourself without your navigational instrument.
Yeah.
So now you become a rudderless wreck, and you're just sailing from left to right, and then now you expose yourself to all kind of dangers and all kind of things. That's what it happens. You find yourself, you create so many knots.
Yeah.
And these knots, they become looped up, and like a fisherman's net.
Yeah.
And then you entangle yourself with it. But when you get so entangled, remember, you cannot just extricate yourself so easily. All those knots have to be unknotted one at a time until you completely free yourself.
Wow.
And such a journey can be very painful. That's why we are doing this video.
Yeah.
So that you don't fall in those trappings. You know, those were things that most of all almost got ourselves trapped. But it was so gracious that we came across the Grail message.
Absolutely.
And we were able to avoid many of these things. Because when you become when you become a seeker, sometimes you can become overzealous and you become gullible.
Exactly.
And just jump into these things because it's exciting. It's exciting. In this journey, and you find yourself, you entrap yourself into many of these things. So trust the process is a gradual journey. There's no shortcut. Grow one step at a time. You know, even you encounter misfortune. Sometimes you might go through sicknesses or difficulties. Also remember, those are lessons in life that we must learn. Those things are also messengers that have come to teach us.
Necessary messengers.
Necessary lessons. But sometimes some of us will pray for these things to be taken away from us. Like you see some people go to church and pray for healing, and sometimes that sickness has come to also to teach you. You know, the prayer is let His will be done.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Let Thy will be done. Yeah. Because I mean, there's just so much that we don't know that's happening, and that's why at the end of the day, we cannot lean upon our own understanding. We cannot trust the intellect because the intellect is corrupt, that is faulty. We must lean upon the Word of God. We must lean upon His understanding because, as I mentioned, He knows us better than we know ourselves. And quite frankly, He loves us better than we love ourselves.
He's our Father.
Yeah,
He knows what we want, what we need.
Absolutely.
You know, there is no trying to kill ourselves.
Yeah.
Just one step at a time. Simplicity. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Not complicated.
Keep it simple. You know. So with that being said, family, man, thank y'all for being here with us, and I hope that y'all got a lot out of this conversation. We will be back with more conversations. I believe our next conversation is going to be a series talking about the Trinity. We're really going to be breaking that down for y'all. You know, because it's one of those things where it's still a lot of debate about it. A lot of people still don't understand it, but it's one of those foundational knowledge that we must have, and properly understanding what the Trinity is helps us to understand a lot about ourselves and a lot about creation, and just takes away a lot of the confusion, you know. So yeah, family, it's been a very rich discussion, and we thank y'all for being here with us. So we'll see y'all again very soon. So peace and power to the true and living. This is Seaborn Nacirfa-Sun with Ikomi Manono on Grail Conversations. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you.
A special book which clearly answers the unsolved problems of human existence. The vast knowledge mediated in its pages leads the earnestly seeking reader who weighs and examines objectively out of all the chaos of present-day confusion and distortion to clear recognitions. This book commands attention by its forceful language, by the clarity of its thoughts, and by the setting right of distorted concepts, unmistakably and sometimes severely but irrefutably explained. The laws in which the entire creation came into being and exists are plainly set forth. The world happening is interpreted in its true significance, and man's responsibility before his God and his fellow men is revealed and explained. Thus, to him who opens himself to these recognitions is restored the indestructible inner security of his personality. For the seeking human being, the lectures of this work deal with all essential questions and spheres of life: natural sciences, ethnology, social and economic questions, religion and church, psychology and cultivation of the spirit, family and state, sex and sexuality, occultism and spiritualism, justice and law, knowledge and wisdom, the world, time and eternity, and lastly, the recognition of God. Whoever bears the desire for it living within him and is willing to make the effort will be helped to fulfillment by the work in the light of truth, the Grail message of Abu-Shin. The author writes, I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he honestly seeks for the truth. With my message, I now open the book of creation for you. The message clearly shows you the language of God in creation, which you must learn to understand so that you can make it completely your own. The author recommends that the lectures of this work be read in sequence and not picked out individually, seeking to judge the work in this way. The knowledge of the Grail message cannot be grasped by simply glancing through it. It is the sacred responsibility of the human spirit to recognize his God and his laws through which the human being and the entire creation came into existence.
All right, brethren.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
that was a good one.
Yeah.